Hi there, I'm Lindsay Schwann.
I'm Kelly Franks, and this is Permission to Explore, the podcast. We're combining our 3 decades in the fitness industry, decade in the wellness and coaching industry, and our lifetimes of spiritual and self-development journey to support you in making yourself a priority in your own life.
This podcast is a combination of health science, brain science, mindset magic, and fun, all rolled into one, and gives you permission to explore you. What drives you? What do you truly want for your life? How can you make that happen? What's really holding you back?
If you're tired of the people-pleasing, overdoing, overcommitting, and the exhaustion that comes from it all,
if you're wanting more time for yourself, more joy, more peace in your life, then stick with us. We're here for you. This is Permission to Explore, the podcast, and we're glad you're here. Now let's explore. Hello, everybody.
Hello.
Welcome. It is episode, I already forgot, 31.
You know what I love is that we start like that every time now.
I know, right? You think
like since from 20 to now, we're like, it's episode. You can't remember.
It's an episode.
Congratulations.
Look,
it's a new episode.
Numbers have never been a strong suit for me, so I'm fine with it.
Me either. Same.
Hello, lovely listeners out there. I'm Lindsay.
I'm Kelly.
That's Kelly, and we are Permission to Explore, the podcast. We're so happy you're here. If you don't know who we are, maybe you're new to us, pop over to our Instagram, check out Permission to Explore retreats on the Insta, on the Facebook. You can see who we are, learn a little more about us. You can literally see who we are because, pictures versus podcast.
Right.
Yay. But we'd love
here.
Right? We'd love to see you over there. Come say hello to us. Send us a DM. Let us know if there's something you want to know more about or dive into a little more that you'd like to hear on the podcast or see from us on Instagram. We'd love to talk to you. And speaking of talking to you, this week in this episode, we're doing something a little different. We don't know. We're trying it. And we don't know what's going to happen. But
we have no idea.
We decided this podcast is titled 10 Questions for Insight. And so Kelly and I have been on this journey of, self-development, if you will, for a while. But we're in the process. It's not something that you just get to and go like, I'm done, right? Like, that'd be so nice, but that's not how it works.
Yes.
Right? There's no there is one of my favorite sayings. There's no there. You're not going to get there in self-development. And so we thought, like, how great would it be just to provide some questions for you to start asking yourself to help you along the process. But we're going to ask each other our favorite questions. Kelly's like terrified right now. I wish you could see her face. So
I was like, oh God.
I know, we were texting yesterday and I'm like, I got my questions. And she's like, I'm scared. And I was like, don't worry.
Yeah, we didn't discuss. So I have no idea what she's asking. She has no idea what I'm asking.
Exactly.
So this is on the fly.
It's kind of like a coaching session, right? Like, I have no idea what's coming at me, but it will provide insight. Like, no matter what, these questions are going to help you. One, get to know us a little more, but two, they're going to help me get to know me a little more. These questions are going to help Kelly get to know Kelly a little more, which helps you in all areas of your life. So that is our intention for this episode, is that you can take these questions and ask yourself these questions to help you kind of uncover perhaps some true, goals, desires, some true insight behind your patterns and your ways of thinking, and then help you go down that path, whatever that path is for you that you're trying to go down. Kel, anything you want to add to that?
No. I'm just,
no.
I'm just like giddy with anticipation.
I love that. Giddy with anticipation. Do you want to ask first or receive first?
I will receive first.
Okay. You ready?
Yeah.
You've actually seen this question before. It's a question that I ask most people in a preliminary chat, some variation of this question. All right. You ready?
Okay.
If we were to talk 3 years from now, and you told me they'd been the best 3 years of your life, what would you be telling me about?
Ooh. Long pause. I would be telling you about how successful my Pilates business is, my retreat business is, my personal life is.
Give me more detail on that. What's that look like for you?
On what? Personal life?
What success is?
Right now, it would be a bigger house.
Okay.
That is not next door to a CrossFit gym that is really fucking loud and obnoxious. Sorry for any CrossFitters out there. When you live next door, it's not fun.
I have almost hit people leaving your driveway. Right?
Oh yeah.
Because they do their laps
they run down
there,
the street.
And there's the hedge. So I don't, I literally can't see them. Yeah.
No. So we need a bigger house that ideally is not necessarily in the middle of nowhere, but not on top of other people.
You want some space?
We need more space.
So you're going to tell me about your, I moved into my dream house with some space and some property around me.
Yes.
Yay.
And I'm going to have my own little studio at my house.
That sounds like business success.
Yes.
I love it. What's our retreat business success look like, Kel?
Oh, see, now that would be at least 3, if not 4 retreats a year in different locations. No repeat location in the year. I mean, we would repeat, but in the year it would not be repeat location.
I love that we're on the same page with that. So cool.
Yeah. And they would consist of, some would be short ones, like weekend ones, and others would be week long. So there'd be a combination of that. Our extended exploration would be successful in that we have participants. It would be full and we could continue it all year in addition to our retreats.
And our podcast.
And potentially our own retreat location.
Oh, I love that. Oh, that's fun.
That we own.
That's fun.
Yeah.
I love that. And our podcast? What's our podcast doing?
And our podcast is growing.
I love it. That's very exciting. Yes. Fun. There you go. That's what we're talking about 3 years from now. Perfect. Perfect.
Seems like not long enough, but
anything is possible, Kel.
Anything is possible.
1 year ago, we didn't even have permission to explore.
That's true. That's true.
A year and a half ago, 2 years ago, I was like, I have this crazy idea. I want to do a retreat. You want to help? And Kelly's like, yes, I do.
Yes. And another great idea. Let's launch it in March of 2020.
March 6th of 2020 is when we launched. You know what? I'm happy. I'm so happy that worked out because I was in this phase of, we've talked about it before, the perfection. I think if I wasn't doing this work at that time, I would have bailed. I would have been like, there's no way this can happen. This is the worst time to do I would have bailed on it so fast because it was so quote unquote risky.
Yeah.
And at the time, the place where we ended up having our September retreat was not the location we were going to have it. The place where we've had our last 3 retreats, I didn't even know about when we launched this first retreat. So it was because of 2020 pandemic and because of all of that, when I was like, what do we do? And trying to, predict 4 months out because there were deposits involved and all of this, that location was even brought to my attention, which ended up being the perfect location. Yeah. Right. So like, as much as it's like, that was the worst time to launch this retreat, it was also kind of the best time to launch the retreat. Right. Yeah. And for me, it was kind of like, look, you've talked about this for 10 years. You're in. Do it. Yeah. Like, do the thing. Just do it. It doesn't have to be perfect. Things can come up. You know what? You're going to take different precautions than you ever imagined before. You'll figure it out. Right. And that was the biggest retreat we had.
I know. Right. To date.
People were like, I kind of need this.
I need to be with other people.
Yay. I'm ready.
So if you could give your younger self, I'm talking about 3 stages of your life. So little girl Lindsay, teenager Lindsay, young adult Lindsay, what advice would you give those 3 girls?
Okay, little girl Lindsay, I would definitely say you're safe. Like there's nothing in my childhood that, I grew up with 2 very, very loving parents. I grew up with, my family, my extended family, like all around me. Nothing bad, but this part of me that felt like I was always walking on eggshells. And so I learned very young to just like adapt to however I needed to. And again, I've talked about how that's like served me well in some areas of my life. Right. But now as like an adult, it's like peeling layers back to go like, who is truly me and who have I learned to be? And so I also like, and I think we've spoken about this, maybe just you and me, but how as young childhood, I was like, my jam was theater and performing and at, age 4, before I knew what I was doing, really, I was like posting cousin school pictures on the door and acting out my Annie record and, performing, but I didn't know what I was doing. I just knew I really liked it. And I don't know when it happened, but somewhere along the line, I knew, like, I learned that it was not okay to do that. Or not okay to, this was a big one I was just talking with a friend about, was not okay to say, you know what, I kind of like the attention I get from the audience applauding, right? And it's not because I'm Tinkerbell and I need the attention to live, right? I really like the acknowledgement of this skill, right? And embracing that it is a skill. And it's something that I've talked about that before, is embracing these kind of skills that I've always thought were like bad. Right? They're not skills. They're weird things that you should shove down. So that would be my young advice, like my young Lindsay advice is like, you're safe. Just be you, right? Like just be you. That's kind of the same for like teenage Lindsay too. Teenage Lindsay was extremely insecure. extremely insecure. And the irony is I covered that with, I'm severely independent. Right. So it was this kind of like bold, audacious, but not secure. Like I was like, I don't care what you think. Inside just crumbling, like the defenses were up because I didn't want to seem vulnerable. I didn't want to seem insecure, right? So that and everything in high school, man, like everything was so personal to me. Everything. And that is, one that would definitely be the high school teenage version. Young adult version is, it's ironically like, don't be so scared.
Yeah.
That phase where it was like, okay, I'm going to go conquer the world with my acting. Right?
Yeah.
And when you combine that with that supreme insecurity, that's how you get like kind of a mess in that early adult thing. Like, I think that would be the other side of it is like, or even like, hey, it's okay to change your mind. Like that's another like young adult thing that I would be like, hey, you don't have to be so attached to everything else before now. You could change your mind. You don't have to do that. Yeah. You don't have to do this. You don't have to climb the corporate ladder there, letting go of all those other things. And again, it kind of comes back to like, just go, you do you.
Yeah. Right? I mean, you don't need to, I heard this on another podcast the other day, but it was like, you don't need to know what you want to be when you grow up because you can change your mind anytime during your life.
Yeah. I just changed my mind.
Yeah. Like you don't have to know when you're 18 and you graduate from high school what I want to be when I grow up because I'm a living example of that. At 30, I've had 4 different careers in my lifetime, like I changed my mind and now I'm doing my own thing. I'm a business owner, I would have never thought when I was 18, 20 that I would be a business owner.
Yeah.
Never. I never would have thought that. Now I can't imagine not.
All right. I would make the worst employee.
Oh, there's no way. There's no way I can take direction from anybody else right now.
I'm like, I mean, look, I've subcontract, right? Like I've worked with other, companies in this, coaching position, right? Or even Pilates. But I'm very clear on it's a situation where I go, I will give you my schedule. Right? Here is when I'm available. Here is when I'm not available.
Exactly.
There are parameters, but it's really interesting that you say that because that was specifically one thing that's always been it's really messed with my mind was I've shared, love of learning is a strength of mine. It also, can very much lead to shiny object syndrome, which I definitely have. But
that too.
but it's also been something that I've always carried with me as a quote unquote failure because I've always been like, I'm fascinated with like, I don't want to say geography, but like travel, cultures, learning that. I've always been fascinated with that. Performing has always been a thing for me. So when Zumba came into my life, it was like the best of both worlds because it was dancing, but it was all dancing based on music of cultures.
Oh, yeah, other cultures, yeah.
So like I'm going to Zumba conference and I'm like, I'm taking African beats and I'm taking Caribbean and I'm taking, like Bollywood and all these other, where the basis really is learning about where the music came from, how it developed this way. And then, all of this. So I'm in. After college, I was like, I really spent a lot of time and had a lot of discussions with companies about teaching English overseas.
Mm-hmm.
Because to me, I was like, I'm not married. I'm fresh out of college. At that point, it's like, I have to pay for my health insurance and my student loans. That was my bills, I spent a lot of time in looking at that. But again, come back to that whole, like, don't be so afraid. I couldn't jump off the deep end and like go to, I really wanted a position like in Spain or Italy.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, like everyone wants those positions.
Yeah.
The ones that were available to me was like, how about China? And I was like, I don't know if I'm ready for that.
No.
Right? Like as a 24-year-old, I was like, that's a lot.
That's a lot. Yeah.
But I've always like anything around being able to travel, anything around that's always been my thing. Right. And I look at mainly my dad, who, when I used to say, like, I want to go here, and he would go, you want to see the world? Join the Marines. That was his version of life, right? Because he joined at 16 and got to go see Vietnam, right? And he came home and had no desire to ever go again. Like he had no desire to ever leave the States again.
Yeah.
The job that he got after the Marines, he retired from that company. He had one career,
one job.
Job. And yes, that job took like, he was a lineman. So it was the fixing telephone poles. And then eventually he taught lineman school through the same, but my mom was kind of in that same boat. She had a couple other like little detours, but she worked at the same company my entire life. And I think she only had like one or two other kind of jobs before that. So for me going like, well, why can't I just like teach Zumba, but also do this and also do this? It was so like, to me, this, almost, it was a fault. Like, why can't you just find that one thing that you love? Why, and so it was just like this disposition in my head. And again, that kind of comes back to like, hey, just go do you.
Right.
It makes sense to me why I love these things. Just go do it.
So just do it. Yeah. Just do it.
That's a good question, Cal. That was a good one.
I know.
Yeah. All right. What are your 3 biggest, most audacious goals right now?
Oh my. 3 biggest, most audacious goals right now. Growing my business.
What's that look like? Again, like growing your business. What are we growing to?
See, now that I don't know. I don't know, like, I mean, I know how much money I want to make. I know what my magic number is. I don't exactly know how to get to it yet.
Well, that's okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like, I know what my magic number is, but I don't know how exactly to get to it. So I don't know what that means as far as like people and stuff. Like, I know how much I would like to work or not work, but just trying to figure out that,
yeah, like if it's
where that's at.
If it's, I get to that place by having 20 people in a class, or if I get to that place by having 5 clients, private clients, or, like that sort of putting the pieces together.
Yeah, that I'm still trying to work out. I'm not sure. Like, I mean, in January, I had a goal of, I just wanted to add 2 private sessions a week to my schedule. And then I wanted to add 2 more people coming to my online class. I did get 2 additional clients, private clients, I got one additional person coming to my online class.
Mm-hmm. So now we got to reassess.
Yeah. So I started really small.
Yeah.
And, I kind of was like, well, let me see what this looks like once I get there. So that's what I mean. Like, I just don't know how to get there. I know what the number is.
Well, and I think
just got to get to
it. One of my favorite quotes is F the how for now. You can say forget, right, or you can say Kelly's favorite word. And
starts with F.
Remember we used to say that in, back in the corporate days. We were like, that's Kelly's favorite word.
Yes.
But, you can, like, don't worry about that. Like, don't worry about the how so much, because even when you have the magic number, and I'm a huge fan of having the data, right? Mm-hmm. And we've talked about this too. Like, it's important to have the data, but not making the data be the end all be all. Yeah. And so it's like, okay, here's where I'm trying to get. And I think it's so important that so many people, when I ask questions like, what do you want? Or growing my business, what does that mean? And it's like, I don't know. Mm-hmm. Well, then how are you going to know if you get there? Right? Right. What's your criteria here? So your criteria is this number. Awesome. How do you get that number? It's like, I help people. Cool. Go help people. Yeah. Right? Yeah. And the rest of it will work itself out, whether that is privates, groups, something else that appears that you have no concept of right now. Mm-hmm. So your focus is like, yes, this number, but how do I do that? I help people. Yeah. I'm just going to go help people. I just keep teaching Pilates. And just going to help more people. And get more people. Yeah. 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 I love it. So that would be 1. You said 3, right? I did say 3. Well, bigger house. We've established this. Mm-hmm. That, bigger house, a new car. Oh. These are, especially after the breakdown of the old car. That is still sitting in a parking lot somewhere. She's like, had we recorded this podcast a week ago, that may not have been on the list. I don't know. That it may not. But it is it's on the list. It's not necessarily just my list. It's also on my husband's list. So we've talked about it. We have to gather until March. We have until March, and then we can buy a new car. I think when this podcast comes out, it will be March. So it's close. So I might have a new car by then. It's so close. I want you to give us an update on our social medias. Okay. Okay. We all need an update when you have your new car. Okay. My turn now. I'm ready. What was the one thing? Now you might have to think really far back. What was the one thing that you can recall that happened in your life that pushed you towards acting in theater? Oh, geez. See? Okay, so I'm going to say pushed me, but like, okay, so I cannot recall like where the theater performance bug came from. Like it's something that's just always, if I have to say one thing, it would be like Annie and Wizard of Oz, I suppose. Like seeing those in my VHS tape at a young age. I guess that's what did it, and then I had the records. So, that's kind of where all of that started. But, I do remember, and again, I was just talking about this last week or a couple days ago. I distinctly remember I was 6 years old, and a couple friends that went to the same babysitter were in the play. I didn't know what that was, right? Oh, okay. But I didn't know what that meant, because I didn't know that what I was doing was a thing. You know what I mean? Oh, okay. Like, I didn't understand that putting pictures up and reenacting Annie was this thing called acting, right? Or a play or anything. Like, I didn't have those put together. And so these two girls that were at the same babysitter would leave and go to play practice every afternoon. And I was like, where are they going? What's going on? Right? Well, that play, so my hometown has a children's theater, and the play that year was Wizard of Oz. So that was the first time my mom took me to see these girls in the play in Wizard of Oz, right? Because I loved Wizard of Oz. Yeah. So I can tell you where I was sitting in the theater, our outdoor pavilion, when they were Oompa Loompas, not Oompa Loompas, Munchkins.
Munchkins.
Yeah. We did Charlie and the Chocolate Factory 3 years later. I was in that. But I distinctly remember the feeling within me, like seeing this play out. And I looked at my mom like, you have been holding out on me. Like, why have I not been in this? Like, why did I not know anything about this? Right? Like, that moment is kind of when it was just like, and this is what I will do. That, and I like held on to that. Like, I was ready. When do I get to do the play? When's the next play? You like just obsessed. And the next year was Pinocchio, and I auditioned and I got to be Figaro. So I know, right? So not only am I in my first play, but I'm also playing my favorite animal of all time, right? Like, I get to be the cat, and I was on stage pretty much the whole time, right? Yeah. That is just a whole different ball game, again, of this being like, I love this. Like, I am here. I am on stage. I got so like, and it's so funny because now as an adult, I know these people that put on the shows, right? And I still think about this again as an adult, like Gene and Jerry Keck that do the children's shows, right? They're in their like late 70s now. And I don't know what's happened since 2020, but like, I think about how these two people put on a show with, I am not exaggerating, 100 kids every summer. Everyone gets cast. So, you think of Wizard of Oz, like there are a solid 80 Munchkins. Right? Yeah. Right. And they make sure to have like, they'll create kind of Munchkins within the Munchkins so that everybody gets kind of the, like, as an adult and being in theater, I was like, these people are saints, right? Yeah. To do this every summer with 100 some kids, like,
There's also a lot of flying monkeys.
Yes, there were a lot of flying monkeys as well. That is correct. Yes. But like, and their daughter Krista choreographed. And so like, I know Krista, I grew up with them, right? Because that became my thing every summer. Like, some people, I think back, like my friends from grade school, right? Like, they would talk about summer break and how they didn't have anything to do and they were bored. And I was like, what are you talking about? Like, I have rehearsal every day. Like, I go to play practice every day. And there is nothing that exists. Like, our family vacations took place in the 2 weeks between the show closing and school starting. My world revolved around that. And I would get so upset with my friends that would like go, I'm going to do the play, but then they like wouldn't go to rehearsal, or they were like, no, I have a softball game tonight, so I can't be at rehearsal. And I was like, what are you talking about? Like, it was a whole different level for me. Yeah. Without knowing that it was just something that like, that's just not their thing. But I did not understand how that was not their thing.
Right.
So
how could this not be your thing?
I don't understand. Yeah. So like, and it's funny because when I talk to my other like theater friends, the ones that have like, also majored in theater or like that was going to be their career, they are all also like that. Like they all have this like, oh no, one of them was telling me, it was so funny because she goes, oh yeah, I used to put on shows like for my mom and dad. And I was like, oh yeah, I did that too. I would make Becky do it. I'd go over to Becky's house and I was like, we're going to go through your mom's old closet because she kept all their clothes. And we're going to find costumes and we are going to write a show around these costumes and then we're going to perform it. And she's like, okay, right, whatever. We would call relatives. We were like, we're going to charge you $5 to come see our amazing show. Right. And one of my friends was like, oh yeah, I used to do that too. We'd put them up on the garage and then we'd open the garage door and that was like the curtain rising. And I go, why didn't I ever think of that? Right? I only stuck pictures to the door. But if you go, I'll have to show you this. If you go to our house and in like the dining room, so the room between the kitchen and like the living room, right?
Yeah.
If you look at the closet door for the first closet, you will actually see initials because I wrote my audience members there. So like one time I couldn't be in the kitchen to perform. I had to find a new space, right? So I went there and I was like, I can't, like, it's not the same without my audience. So I wrote initials for where my audience was sitting on that door. Cause there's like little wooden slats. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's still there.
Oh my God. That's funny. We used to go around our neighborhood and do plays.
Mm-hmm. Performance.
Performance. And then we got to the point where we just started recording ourselves. We had a camcorder, like an old school with a VHS tape. So we started putting these plays on and we would record ourselves. But yeah, we used to go around and do plays.
I would do voiceovers. Like I had a handheld recorder. So like if we needed a narrator, I would record it. And then, I'd be like, hit play. And then they would play the voiceover, Yeah.
Oh
man.
My God, that's funny.
All right. So you just told me about your 3 biggest, most audacious goals.
Mm-hmm.
What experience do you hope to have by achieving those goals?
What experience do I hope to have by achieving those goals?
Mm-hmm. What are they going to give you that you don't have right now?
Security.
Oh, really? It's security? It's
security.
What do you mean by security?
I mean financially. Security.
Is that a thing?
Stability. Probably a little bit of peace. I mean, security is a big one. That's my number one.
How do you know it's going to give you security? What makes you to believe that?
I feel it.
So as in, you can feel security now?
No.
But you just said you feel it.
But I know the difference between this feeling and that feeling. And I only say that I don't feel secure right now is partly because there's a lot of unknowns. Like, clearly we're not going to stay in this house. We know that this house doesn't work for us. It's too small. It's too loud. It's inconvenient, all these things. So we know we aren't going to stay here. We also know that our car situation is a nightmare and that has to change. So there's a lot of unknowns with that. We have no idea where we're going to live, where we want to live, anything like that. But we know that this house doesn't work for us. Like this is not where we're going to be. So to me, that makes me a little bit uneasy, feels, I don't know, just uneasy.
So what I'm hearing you say is that it's the unknown that is driving that like tension.
Mm-hmm.
But by having the house, having the car, and having grown your business, are you saying that there's not going to be any more unknowns?
No. There's always going to be unknowns.
That's why I said, how do you know there's security when you get there? Right? And I'm being cheeky because I know what you're saying, right? That when you get to a certain level of income, you're able to handle things easier. Right? It's not that like problems go away and now I'm secure, but it's like, oh, when the car breaks down, okay. Right?
Yeah,
like it's not that like level of tension, right? I get what you're saying.
Yeah. Yeah. When the car breaks down, it's not like a breakdown.
Exactly. It's easier to handle, right? It's just, it's easier to handle because money's not the thing that is like, right? I get what you're saying. But I also like to caution of this idea of security, right? Because there is no security. There isn't,
No.
But like I said, I understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, this is just easier to handle.
Yeah. And security is probably not the right word. That's just what comes to mind.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's the feeling of it.
That's the feeling. Yeah.
But that's why I'm like, but you're able to feel that now. Like you're tapping into that now.
I mean, I like everything else. Like these are all external things that give me the unsecure feeling. It's nothing internal.
Bingo.
Yeah, it's nothing internal. Like there's nothing in my, in my relationship or my family or any of that. It's all this external.
That's what that's when you said that, like, no, I know what it feels like. That's where I'm like, no, but if you can tap into that now, that feeling now, tap into that when it gets into the angst, the tension, the stress of the other things, right? If you can tap into that feeling now of that stability as you think of it, and then operate from that place as you navigate, where are we going to live? What are we, all of that other stuff. As you navigate adding more clients.
Yeah. Well, and I've been like, the past 2 days have been like really good for me personally and business wise. So because of that, it's been a lot easier for me to, I don't really give a shit about that car.
Yeah.
And just, like I've had to talk to Craig and just be like, calm down.
How freeing is that?
It's so great because I'm like, whatever. And like he was really upset because he couldn't go, like yesterday he wanted to try and go get the car started or charge the battery or whatever. Well, he couldn't get to it because it's in a parking lot and there's cars next to it. And even my daughter tried to tell him, you're not gonna be able to get to it because there's cars next to it. And, of course he had to go see for himself. So then that sent him into a tailspin. And I was like, look, just wait till later on. Wait till shift change. And then more cars will be gone. And then we can go and see if we can get it jumped. And then I was like, however, until we can go and try and get it jumped, it's going to sit there. And it doesn't change how we're going to move through our day today because that car's not here. It literally changed nothing because Hannah and I already had a plan
he already had a plan. Like everyone already has a plan for the 2 vehicles we have.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't matter that car's not here.
Yeah. Yeah. It's that idea of like, you are where your attention is, right? Like you are, if that's where your attention's at, it's going to drive you nuts.
Yeah.
I love it.
And of course he's worried about it getting towed because it's been sitting there. And I'm just like, so what?
Yeah. If it does, like, thanks for moving it. Now we can jump this.
Thanks a lot. Don't care.
I love it.
I was like, we could just tell him to keep it.
Yeah. Thank you for taking that car. It's yours now. Finders keepers.
You may have it. Bye-bye. Okay. So I knew we would not get through 10 questions.
I know. I'm already like, maybe this is a 3-parter. It's like 10 questions over 3 episodes. We'll sprinkle them in elsewhere.
I know. Okay. This one's kind of around all of your love of travel.
I do love travel.
Okay. So I want to ask, where is somewhere in the United States? This is part 1. Somewhere in the United States you've never been to that you would like to visit. And why?
Is everywhere I haven't been to an answer? No. Dang it. Okay. Now I got to get specific. Okay. I really want to go like New England in general.
Okay.
I've been to New York City, a theater kid. But I've never been to New England. And so I really want to do that. In particular, I would really like to go to Massachusetts. Like my grandma was from there. And I, because my dad was my dad, like I'm kind of a history dork. I like history when it's in front of me, not when I have to read it. So there's a big part of that I'm like, I really want to just experience that. But also I'm adamant that when I go, Eddie and I have this conversation all the time that I not only want to go to New England, but I want to go for fall foliage. So
very, very specific.
I'm very adamant that I'm like, we shall be going once the leaves change because I love fall. I mean, why do you think our retreats in the Midwest are when they are?
Right.
It's because I can come home and experience fall, right? But also, I want to eat all the food. So like, this is not just a New England tour. It is a fall foliage food tour where I can have oysters and crab cakes and lobster and, even baked beans. I don't care.
And it's all fresh.
It's all fresh. So that's and we were just talking, 2 days yesterday. That was our New Orleans trip. I really want to go to New Orleans because I love the jazzy music, but also food tour. So New England is kind of like, I'm going to blanket it with New England, but then also be like, and Massachusetts. In general.
Okay. Part 2 is international that you've never been to, somewhere you've never been, and why?
Everywhere. And I know that.
I know this. I know. But I want you to pick one place. One? Just one that you really, really want to go to that you've never been.
Oh man. I can narrow it down to 3. Is that acceptable?
I knew you could not answer this question.
I can't do that. I can't. I am really proud of myself for narrowing it down to 3, by the way.
Yeah.
I have a spreadsheet. I know that's not going to surprise you. I have a spreadsheet of places, right? So here's the funny thing. 2 out of these 3, we have actually discussed about future retreats. Right. She's like, we have. One is Machu Picchu. Right.
Okay.
I want to go to Machu Picchu and I want to do the hike. Like maybe not necessarily the whole week hike, but at least like the last part hike. I really want to do that. The second is like, I'm going to blanket Africa safari.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
And so, I'm like, Africa, I realize that that's very different things, but
yeah,
but I really want to do a safari. Eddie, I know it's at the top of Eddie's list, but I'm also like, I would also like to go to Egypt because I'd really like to see the pyramids. And also I would like to go to like Casablanca and Morocco in general, but Africa, Cape Town. I like to go to Cape Town. This is what happens. And then the other one that is probably far more realistic than seeing all of Africa is Spain. I've never been to Spain. And it's funny because I've been around Europe a lot, but I've never been to Spain. And it's funny because like I just said, when I was looking at teaching English, that's like where I wanted to go. I was like, I'll go to Spain. Yeah. But I've never been to Spain. I want to go to Barcelona really bad. I'm obsessed with like all the Gaudi art and the Gaudi buildings. And then I want to go to like San Sebastian area. Again, very food related. Because they have like the equivalent of, Puerto Rican chinchurros. So think like bar hopping, but for tapas.
Yeah.
It's great, right? It's brilliant.
Yeah.
They have siestas. Huge fan of that. That's just kind of like in my blood in general. Like I'll work till like 2 and then take a nap and then get up. Like that sounds brilliant to me. Like I feel like Spain and I will get along greatly. I love flamenco. So that would be cool. So yeah, those are my one place, all 3 of them.
That was good.
Thanks.
Good job.
Thanks. I narrowed it
good
down.
Job. You narrowed it down.
We
made it to 3 questions.
We did 3 questions. Do you want to do one more?
We can try one more.
Okay, we'll do one more and then we'll come back with like another podcast sometime. How about that?
Okay.
What is the one thing that when you're doing it, you totally forget about time?
Pilates.
I knew you were going to say that, but
Reiki.
Oh, hey.
Also.
Yeah.
So when I do Reiki self-treatment, I forget about time, but even more when I'm being treated.
Yeah.
I lose all sense of time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because, when someone else does it to you, you feel like you've taken a 3-hour nap.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I've also probably actually legit taken a nap.
I probably have too, but I swear every time I'm like,
I know, right? It's like a massage.
It's only been an hour?
How'd that go so fast?
How'd that go so fast?
Meanwhile, when I'm holding my planks in Pilates, I'm like, this is the longest minute ever. Can we be done with this?
That's a long time. But yeah. Especially if I'm doing my own flow and I'm not like following a class or something, I can kind of get lost in it and be like, oh, it's been an hour.
Yeah.
Shoot. I gotta stop. I have other things to do.
Yeah. Yeah. I get that.
Yeah. So those are mine.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
What is, if you could, let's say you could pack up and move and leave tomorrow, where's one place you would leave, move to, and stay?
Home? Does home count? Home?
I thought that's what you were going to say.
Home minus this whole like winter thing you've got going on right now.
You mean minus Snowmageddon and now today it's raining.
Yeah.
On top of it.
However, we're hitting highs of like
so
80. It's like 84 degrees right now, which is, I'm just like, this is February. This is uncalled for. Yeah. I mean, that's the funny thing is home is home, right? Like, and So home is absolutely one, you know, and Eddie and I talk about Puerto Rico because that's where he's from, which again is like him going home, right?
Right.
Like, so
Right.
both of us are kind of in that, like, and we've talked about before, both of us moved here because this is where our industry is. Right.
Yeah.
So when I was like, no, I really want to do like sitcoms are in Los Angeles, period. You know, and he's in audio and that's, you know, TVs and speakers. And guess what? That's here too. So that's how we kind of both ended up here. And for both of us, it's like, if our industry existed at home, we would have never left home. So yeah, that I would say home is a big one, or I guess Eddie's home, you know, it's
still home. It's still a home.
And we laugh too home. Because we're like, as much as both of us, like I'm obsessed with travel. Eddie's not quite at my level. Some might say he's more responsible about it, but he's like, we have a house. Somebody's got to work to take care of the house.
All right.
But you can't just be on vacation all the time. And I'm like, why not? It's that exact thinking. That is why you can't. There are plenty of people that make lots of money traveling. I'm just saying. But like we talk about how, you know, we love travel and we have an Excel sheet of traveling. And yet most of our travel exists of going home because seeing our family is going to take the priority. Right. So, we had a friend that was making fun of me that he was like, you know, I was like, I love traveling. And he goes, part of me thinks Eddie's sitting here going, she loved traveling, but what she meant is she loves traveling to Chicago. Like, the only place she goes is Chicago. Like, because I go home a lot. Like, you know? And I'm like, trust me, I'd love to go plenty of other places. But, you know, vacation days, all that stuff. So,
well, if you lived at home, you could go other places.
And that's what we keep talking about is I was like, you realize that if we moved there or even Puerto Rico, right? Like that takes out a home for one of those. So,
right.
I know. I was like, or we could live there. You know, we also talk about too, like, you know, what's kind of like maybe an equidistant, right? That his mom does not like traveling to Los Angeles. Like it's a big trip from Puerto Rico. It is. Like I said, we had a layover in New York. So you go from Puerto Rico to New York and then New York across to LA. You know, so I was like, if we lived somewhere else that's say more equidistant, that she can fly here and it's a lot easier. It's a nonstop flight, you know, that would make a big difference that he can just see his family. You know, this year, I know a lot of people are in this boat, but he saw his family for the first time in 3 years, actually, because we didn't go there in 2019. So it was the first time he had been home in 3 years. And I can't fathom that. I'm just like, that's horrible. I'm already like, I'm not going to go home until July. You know, and he's like, that's 7 months.
Right.
And I'm like, that's a long time. So I know.
Oh, God.
So home. That's my answer. Home.
Okay.
I can be close to my friend Kelly again. Because she moved to Hawaii. We were separated. And then I moved to California so we'd be closer. And then she moved away from Hawaii. I tell you.
But you only, I know.
I know. We visited. I was like, we have to go.
I know.
We have to go right now.
It was mandatory.
He didn't want to. I mean, not that he didn't want to, but he was like, his exact words were, Hawaii doesn't call my attention. And I was like, maybe because you're from an island. You're just like, it's an island. And then we went, and now he's like, I would like to go to all the other Hawaiian islands. And I'm like, I support this.
Yeah, we should, because the other ones are so much nicer than Oahu.
Oahu is very city island.
Very city.
Yeah. but
very populated.
It was fun.
Yeah.
Fine, we'll put it on the list. Should it go on the retreat list or the list? Probably both. Yeah, they should go on both. See, this is me putting together my passions and business.
See?
It's brilliant. This was fun, Cal. We'll definitely come back and do this again. If you guys enjoyed this, let us know. If you want more of this, let us know. And we thank you for being here, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
If you have questions, we're here to help. Send us an email. Is there something you'd like to dive into deeper or learn more about? Send us an email. You can reach us at permissiontoexploreretreats.com.
If you want content like this daily, join us on Instagram and Facebook at Permission to Explore Retreats, as well as our personal handles, Kelly Pilates, that's Kellie Pilates, and Coach Lindsay Schwan is Coach_Lindsay_Schwan. If you type in Coach_Lindsay with an E_S, it'll come up.
I know it's a lot. I'm sorry. Lastly, a request. If you would please leave a review or a positive, empowering, helpful comment.
And share with those who you think will find value. If you find value, others will too.
We're on a mission to help women just like you step into their personal power and experience more joy in life. Just imagine the impact we can have together simply by sharing.
We truly appreciate you being here. Thank you so much.